Well, I quite literally fell out of the sky, though not quite in the angelic sense. I was flying a little two-seat experimental home-built airplane, and the engine died right after takeoff, and I had to crash land it down in the Minnesota River Valley. And unfortunately, I flipped over, ended up on my head with the airplane on top of me, and I broke my neck. So after that, a couple months, as I got out of ICU and I went into the rehabilitation center, the first day I met with the occupational therapist, they said, well, what are your goals? And I thought, well, that's refreshing. And I looked at the cell phone that was laying in my lap, and I couldn't pick it up. I couldn't hold it to my ear. I couldn't dial it. And at that time, it was one of the flip phones, or the flips open. And I said, I'd like to use my cell phone. You know, what do you have for me? And I think the therapists weren't quite prepared for that challenge. And they kind of looked at each other a little bit and said, well, let's work with this rubber pencil holder first. And I remember thinking, well, geez, I can buy that at Target. You know, and I went back to my room and spent the next 8 months researching everything I could, essentially becoming an expert on being disabled, and or at least more knowledgeable on being disabled. I guess I had a lot of things to learn. But 2 or 3 months later, I created a voice-controlled cell phone system for myself, and as I'd be going through the hallways, talking to people, you know, of course people started asking me, where'd you get that? I want one. And I suppose that's kind of the impetus of where everything started.
And so you were still in the rehab center, and toward that end of that part of that, you developed the Power Grip?
Yes, as I was towards the last month, I saw one of these orthoses laying on the table, and I asked the therapist, what is that? You know, it looked like something that would help someone who doesn't have hand function to do things. And they said, well, it's for somebody who has strong wrist extension or has the ability to lift up their wrist like this. I actually don't. I had tendon transfer surgery, so I have this ability kind of weakly. But it's called a tenodesis, or wrist-driven hand orthosis. And they said, well, we never showed it to you because you couldn't use it. And I remember just thinking, maybe it's the engineer in me, but I just said, well, geez, it just needs a motor. And so I did some research and found that powered orthoses existed from the 1960s to the 80s in various forms, especially for quadriplegics from polio. But as the polio vaccine reduced the numbers of new quads from polio, the companies that offer those solutions kind of went away also. And so I remember the last day I was moving out of the rehabilitation center and into my home, I had started using the Power Grip for the first time.
And is this the Power Grip?
This is the Power Grip. So now it's available to orthotists nationwide through Jayco Orthopedics or Becca, Oregon, the 2 biggest national suppliers of orthotics equipment. And what it does is it opens and closes your fingers up against your thumb in a key pinch grasp. So you can pick up and hold things like a fork, can of soda, bottle of beer when you're out with your buddies, you know, whatever, maybe a magazine, you know, whatever, things in your environment. We all need to pick up and manipulate things.
And it was being controlled by your left hand?
Yes. Here on the side of my wheelchair, we have
I can see that.
the roughneck switches. And so I just nudge one button. Oops. Nudge one button to close my hand, and nudge the other button to open my hand. And so I just do that with the side of this hand, and kind of as you saw when I was sitting here doing it, it quickly becomes just second nature. I don't even think about it.
Right. Yeah. Amazing.
Or for those who only have movement in one arm, we also offer it with either a sip and puff switch that you can insert up through your shirt. So you just put your mouth down and blow or suck to open and close your hand. Or we also have a new EMG switch that'll hook right up on your platysmal muscle. And you simply flex I'm exaggerating right now, but flex that the muscle in your lower neck, and you can do that to open and close your hand in that manner. I have a video on the website, on the Power Grip page, showing how that works. In fact, I have the Vocalize system, which is a redesign of the original voice control system in about 2006 or 2007. I redesigned that with much newer technology. A lot of the cell phones now have voice commands built in, which is very fortunate, and they're getting better and better. But what's very difficult for folks with limited or no use of their hands and arms is all of those phones you always have to push a button. So the Vocalize system eliminates that barrier. And it allows you to simply say, telephone.
Speak now.
Call J.G. Escobar at cell.
Call J.G. Escobar at cell.
Yes. And of course, when I get someone's voicemail, one of the problems with a lot of systems is you can't hang up. With with the Vocalize system, you can. Oh, hello, Jay. I was just giving an example of the Vocalize system. So don't hang up. I will hang up. End call. And so and hang up, and now I'm good to go. Or if I got someone's voicemail, I can leave a message and hang up when I'm finished.
Yeah, excellent.
Yes, about 2 years ago, about this time of the year, as Christmas is approaching, I had some parents calling me and asking, what do you have for Christmas gifts? My teenager or son or daughter would really like to play video games. And I started looking around the market and saw there was a few things, but they were relatively limited in terms of what games you could play, or it didn't allow you to be completely independent and play all the games available. And so I started developing some video game controllers, and in the last year and a half we've introduced the Ultimate Arcade, which is for individuals like myself who have some arm movement but little or no hand dexterity, so it has big joysticks and big buttons. And the Versatility controller, which is, just as its namesake implies, extremely versatile. It can be set up for anyone in a wide variety of ways who maybe doesn't have any arm movement, head control only, or folks with muscular dystrophy who don't have arm movement but maybe have just a little bit of fingertip movement. And I have to give credit. One of my customers, a fellow with muscular dystrophy, he contacted me when I was developing the Ultimate Arcade and said, I'm lying in bed. I don't have any head movement. I haven't been able to play video games for some time, but it was one of his main interests. And so we looked to address his needs, and that eventually became the Versatility controller. So his name was Kit, and he created videos of himself playing, and became, I think, the 5th most popular blog post on the PlayStation Network, showing how he was playing using only his tongue, a variety of sip and puff switches, eyebrow switches, and some fingertip switches we created for his fingers and toes.